Episode 2. And if you thought Euphoria was going to ease you in slowly this season, Sam Levinson just answered that. This episode is not about drama, it is not about addiction, it is not even about love, it is about extraction. Every single person in this episode is pulling something out of someone else. Money, loyalty, information, self respect, all of it is being mined. And right in the center of all of it, Maddy Paris, who is no longer your best friend in this story. She is your boss, and she might be your predator. We are going to break down every major move in this episode. Maddy, Cassie, Rue, Nate, all of it. Because this episode only makes sense when you see how the pieces connect. Okay, let's get into the episode 2. Here's the thing about this episode. Every season of Euphoria has a quiet thesis. A question it's asking underneath all the noise. Season 1 was, what does it feel like to disappear? Season 2 was, what happens when people are drowning, grab onto each other? Season 3, Episode 2, the thesis is this: who in your life is actually using you? And the answer, when you look closely, is almost everyone. Let's start with Maddy, because Maddy's storyline this episode is not what it looks like on the surface, not even close. Look at her in that cold open. She walks into that pitch and she says, I am a capitalist. I will not be your HR nightmare. I will get the job done. She's not nervous. She's not trying to impress anyone. She's telling them exactly what she is and exactly what she will do. That level of self awareness, that composure does not come from nowhere. That is someone who spent a long time being underestimated and decided she was done with it. And then there is the moment with Kathleen. Someone calls Kathleen a friend, and Maddy stops them. She is not a friend, she is a client. That one correction tells you everything about where Maddy's head is right now. She has already separated her world into two categories: people she cares about and people she works. And she is not confused about which is which. Now, here is where it gets genuinely unsettling. The lunch scene with Cassie. A lot of people watched this and saw a reconciliation. Cassie reaching out and Maddy forgiving Cassie for everything. The Nate situation season 2, all of it. Two girls trying to move past something terrible. That is not what is happening. Maddy is scouting her. She looks at Cassie sitting across that table, and what she sees is beautiful but directionless. She sees someone with incredible value on the surface, the face, the presence, the way she makes a room stop, and she sees someone with absolutely no idea what to do with any of it. That is not a friend she is looking at. That is an asset she just identified. There is a psychological term for what Maddy is doing here. It is called instrumental aggression. It is when someone uses warmth, uses kindness, uses what looks like care as a tool to achieve a goal that has nothing to do with that person's well being. Maddy is not forgiving Cassie. She is positioning her, she is moving her into a place, and she is doing it so naturally, so warmly that Cassie leaves that lunch feeling seen for the first time in years. That is exactly why she is dangerous. But here is the part that actually broke my heart. Cassie asked one question this entire episode. One, but who am I? And nobody answers her. Not because they don't hear it, because nobody in her life actually cares about the answer. That question has been sitting inside Cassie since she was a teenager. Who is she outside of how she looks? Who is she outside of how other people need her to be? She has been performing a version of herself for so long that she genuinely doesn't know what is underneath the performance. And now she is surrounded by the people who need the performance to continue. The needle drop in her scene is, I want to be loved by you. That is a Marilyn Monroe song. And Levinson does not make random music choices. He's telling you this is a Cassie story. This is her parallel. Marilyn Monroe was one of the most extraordinary people to ever exist, and she spent her life being extracted. The studios wanted the image, the men wanted the fantasy. Nobody wanted Norma Jean, the real woman underneath. Everybody wanted Marilyn. Cassie is Norma Jean, and this season, everyone wants her Marilyn. Now let's look at the OnlyFans conversation with Nate. Cassie thinks she is making a sacrifice for love. She's giving up the account, giving up income, giving up the one thing she built that was entirely hers on her own terms, and she's doing it for him. But Nate does not want her to delete it because he loves her. He wants it deleted because he has investors. He's trying to sell a version of himself to the world. Responsible, together, the kind of man you trust with your money. And Cassie's OnlyFans is a problem for that image. She thinks she is cleaning up her life, but she's cleaning up his. She's trading her autonomy, her income, her identity, her independence for $50,000 worth of flour. and she calls it love. The Merlin extraction is happening in real time. The industry, the men, everyone around Cassie, they want her image. They don't want her questions. They don't want, but who am I? They want her to stand in the light and look exactly the way they need her to look. And the tragedy is, she keeps letting them because no one has ever offered her something real to hold on to instead. Let's talk about Rue. Because Rue thinks she made a smart move. She is operating under Alamo now. She believes that is a protection. She made it through Lori. She survived. She found someone who has some apparent interest in keeping her functional. Well, she did not. Alamo is gaslighting Angel, and he is using Rue for information, specifically intel on Lori. Rue is not an ally in his operation. She is a tool, she is a source. The moment she stops being useful, that calculus changes immediately, and she cannot see it because she wants to believe it so badly. After everything, Rue needs to believe that someone in this world is actually on her side. That is what Alamo is exploiting, not her drug habit, her hope. Now let's look at the scale incident. Trish is dead because Wayne forgot to clean a scale. That is it. That is the entire reason. Not a war, not a rival. A dirty scale and a man who was not paying enough attention. Think about that for a moment. Someone died because of negligence. Because in this world, in the ecosystem Rue is operating inside of, a single careless moment cost a human life. No one pauses, no one grieves publicly. Life here is cheap and everyone in that operation knows it. That is the reality Rue is inside of. Convinced she has a protection. And then, the angel moment, Rue's intervention. She has every reason to stay silent. Alamo needs her passive. Angel being in the dark keep everything running smooth. Rue saying nothing protects herself. She tells him the truth anyway. That is Rue's fatal flaw. And it is not drugs, it is empathy. She cannot watch someone get manipulated and say nothing. Even when saying something puts her directly in the line of fire, she created a liability for Alamo by doing the right thing. And now, there is a car watching her at the rehab center. Is it Lori? Is it feds? We don't know. But Levinson held on to that shot. He needed you to see it. Rue is being watched and she has absolutely no idea. Well, Nate Jacobs owes $550,000. $550,000 to someone named Nas, and he is at a party in a nice house talking to his neighbors, selling them on opportunities, shaking hands, smiling. He is a used car salesman at his own event. The car does not run, the account is empty, but the pitch? The pitch is perfect. That is something Nate has always been. Terrifyingly good at performing the version of himself that people want to invest in. But here is the thing that this episode does brilliantly with him. The dynamic with Cal this episode is unlike anything we have seen between them. Cal is honest, completely, uncomfortably, brutally honest. And it is not because Cal became a better person. It is because Cal has nothing left to lose. Zero reputation, zero status. He already hit the floor. When you have nothing, honesty is free. You can say whatever you want because there is nothing left to protect. Nate is the opposite. He has an image. He has a story. He is absolutely terrified because the moment that image cracks publicly, the investors disappear. The neighbors stop answering and Nas comes looking. Nate is not fake it till you make it. Nate is fake it or get destroyed. And Cal, in his ruined state, is holding a mirror up to that, and Nate will not look. So let's talk about the architecture of this tragedy. Everything in this episode is a butterfly effect fueled by a single grain of negligence. It started with Rue because Rue brought her the drug trade into the Lori's house. She pulled Faye into the game, and Faye, distracted or perhaps just out of her depth, forgot to clean the scales after handling fentanyl. That one tiny mistake, a few grains left behind, contaminated the ecstasy that went to Alamo's ranch. Trish didn't die because of a hit or a plan. She died because of a quality control error. But in this world, an accident is a provocation. Trish's death has now triggered a war between Alamo and Lori. One teenager's choice in high school has rippled outward into a full-scale drug war. It's killing people who don't even know Rue's name. That is the genius of this episode's structure. Nobody sees the full chain. They only see their piece of the scam. Maddy sees a client in her best friend. Nate sees investors in his neighbors. Alamo sees a tool in Rue. None of them see the car watching from the curb. None of them see the system failure coming. None of them accept us. Here is where I'm putting my marker down for the season. Maddie Paris didn't just survive high school, she studied it. She learned that people are assets. She proved it with Kathleen, build them up, make them valuable, and walk away with commission. Cassie Howard is next acquisition. Maddie is going to spend this season being the only person who sees Cassie. She is going to give her the direction Cassie is starving for. She is going to play the part of the perfect best friend, the mentor, the savior. And once Cassie is fully dependent on her, Maddie will pitch her to the agency. Take her cut and complete the cycle. The extraction will be complete and tragedy. Cassie will let it happen because for Cassie, being used has always felt more like love than being ignored. But I want to hear from you. Look at that lunch scene. Do you see two best friends finally finding their way back to each other? Or do you see two scammers using a reunion to further their own goals? Is a Maddie genius getting her get back? Or has she become the very predator she used to despise? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you missed the context of how Rue ended up in Alamo's shadow or why Nate's death is already at the breaking point, you need to watch my episode 1 breakdown right here. The architecture of the season was built in those first 60 minutes. Don't go into the episode 3 without seeing the foundation. Euphoria doesn't warn you, it just shows you. The question is, were you paying attention? See you in the next one.